3 ways you can measure your exercise intensity. Specifically, we're going to focus on moderate intensity. So there's light, moderate, and then there's vigorous. And while moderate is likely the one most people can attain, vigorous would mean you'd have to be in fairly good shape. And if you're just starting out in exercise, you may be starting at a lighter intensity. No shame. One other thing, when we're looking at intensity, it's usually we're looking at a percentage of your heart rate maximum. So you have to figure out your heart rate maximum before in order to figure out what zone you need to be in. Okay, so we are going to get started. So my plan was to do a few laps around this little parkette, and I guess I'll give you a little view of it. It is on King Street, sorry about that, and we're just in a little kids park, and I've got a nice little fence around me so nobody else is going to come inside with the dogs because I don't want to be chased by a dog. But it is a little bit noisy, I'll admit it, but we're going to do our best. So I'm going to start moving. I also have a heart rate monitor on. So for each method that I'm going to teach you of how to measure your exercise intensity, I'm also going to compare it to the gold standard, which is checking your own heart rate with a heart rate monitor. So let's just summarize the 3 ways we're going to look at exercise intensity. The first one, we are going to do a rate of perceived exertion. So it's basically exactly as how it sounds. We're going to rate my exertion. There's a scale from 0 to 10, or there's a scale from 6 to 20. And let's just get myself moving a little bit harder. And if I'm working on a rate of perceived exertion on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm aiming between 3 to 6. Personally, I find these scales difficult. I'm a little bit competitive, so I generally tend to underestimate my effort. So I'm going to just, I think a 1, if you're just taking a nice little stroll, 1 would be easy. You're not really trying. You're just, taking a stroll. And then if you get into a 3 to 6, there has to be a little bit of intention involved, right? A little bit of effort. So I think I'm getting there. Honestly, I don't know what I would call this. Let's say, all right, sometimes talking doesn't help either, right? Because when you talk, you require some more oxygen and you have to breathe a little bit more. So it kind of changes the intensity relatively. But here we go. I think I'm on my second lap. Oops, better make sure that lady doesn't take my phone. No, I'm just joking. She's not going to do that. And here we go. Let's check it out. Rate of perceived exertion, 3 to 4 out of 10. And where are we? Give me my heart rate. Oh, of course. Right when I need it, it's not here. Oh, it's 129. Oh, geez. Okay, so I am in the top end of my moderate zone. Okay, so that was rate of perceived exertion from a scale of 0 to 10. You're aiming between a 3 to 6. And that is moderate intensity exercise. Now, did that seem very hard? Not really. But, you want to keep that up for maybe 10 minutes to sort of accumulate that 150 minutes in a week. And the next one we are going to work on is the talk test. So this is another way that you can determine if you are in your moderate zone. So with the talk test, it's like a functional rate of exertion. So functionally, anyways, I'm talking. Talking is a function of life. And if you are walking at and exercising at a moderate rate, that would mean that you should only be able to talk in short sentences. If you were working less than that or at a lower level, you should be able to talk easily. So that would be light. If you are working at a vigorous level, you should only be able to get out 1 or 2 sentences. And we'll just keep going just a little bit longer. I know, horrible, horrible angles. I am the worst. And here we go. Let's check out my talk test. Talk test, moderate intensity, short sentences. And let's see what the heart rate says. Woo! Oh, I'm at 130. So I am actually moving into the vigorous zone. My goodness. Doesn't take much, does it? All I'm doing is walking briskly around the park like some kind of exercising person. Okay. The third way of measuring exercise intensity. And that way, if you don't actually have a heart rate monitor, you can actually measure your own heart rate. So how do you do that? I'm going to show you. For this specific task, I will probably need to stop moving, because when I'm taking my own heart rate, it's really hard to feel it if you're in motion. So, unless you're, I don't know, I've been doing it for years, and trying to take my heart rate on a treadmill, things like that, it's really quite impossible. So once I've stopped, when I've decided all right, I think we're going to move towards that heart rate testing, and we'll check it out. I'm going to there's a couple ways you can do it by measuring how many heartbeats there are in 10 seconds. You can also measure it in how many heartbeats you feel in 15 seconds. And what you're going to look at is your wrist. And at your wrist, you have your thumb, of course, and there's a little tendon here. If you look across the wrist, some of us have a tendon right in the middle. And if you move over, you're going to feel another little skinny tendon here. So what you're going to do is, what I do is I use a couple of fingers and I softly touch in between this outside tendon and this one just next to it. And really softly touch yourself, okay? If you're pressing too hard, you're just going to squish the blood vessel. Okay, and so I do need a stopwatch for this. Okay, here we go. Ready? Let's start counting and counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, that was about 15 seconds. I've been sitting here for a few seconds, so that basically kind of messed it up. I should have been up around 27. You can check your heart rate if you like. It's probably the hardest thing to do because, it's good if you have a watch on, which I don't, and then you can check your heart rate. You've probably seen those runners who, put their walk. Well, this is back in the old days. Before we had heart rate monitors, people would be walking around looking at their watch and checking their heart rate. Or you can also check your carotid artery, but I would not advise you to do that if you don't have experience. We have our 3 ways of measuring exercise intensity. The first one is rate of perceived exertion, either from 0 to 10 or from 6 to 20. The second one we have is the talk test, only being able to talk in short sentences. And the third one is to either measure your heart rate with your own fingers on your wrist, and the fourth would be using a heart rate monitor. And if you are using a heart rate monitor, you're looking between 64 to 76% of your heart rate maximum. For me, my range is 109 to 129. So getting up into a moderate zone really isn't that hard. And if you can do that 10 minutes a day and do that repeatedly every day, once a day, then twice a day, you are going to accumulate that 150 minutes in no time. It's all about feelings this month and what you feel. So what did we feel today? We felt our heart rate.